Ryan Reynolds has apparently been firing off 1,000-word text messages at 5 a.m., and now they're sitting in federal court records for anyone to read. That's the real story here. Not just what he allegedly said, but that he put it in writing on the record forever. And when Blake Lively showed up to court-ordered mediation this week, she showed up alone. No Ryan in sight. Given what's now public, that might have been the smartest call anyone's made in this whole mess. Quick recap of where things stand. Lively and Justin Baldoni were in Manhattan court Thursday trying to settle before this heads to trial. The optics alone told a story. Blake and Justin coincidentally wore similar color palettes, probably nothing but odd. Baldoni arrived with his wife, looking calm and even upbeat, despite months of being dragged through the mud. Lively arrived solo, visibly stressed, with her husband nowhere to be found. That absence spoke volumes. Mediation didn't work. The two sides were kept in separate rooms the entire time, which tells you they're not remotely close to a resolution. No settlement, no quiet NDA exit. This is heading to a full trial, complete with depositions, cross-examinations, and evidence displayed for a jury. Most outlets have moved on to bigger headlines, but the court filings keep dropping, and the latest batch is arguably the juiciest yet, a series of texts from an extremely angry Ryan Reynolds. The first, dated August 9, 2024, was sent at 5:12 a.m. The narrator can't resist speculating whether anyone sending essay-length texts at that hour might be under the influence of something. Pure conjecture, no evidence offered, just floated as a thought, given Reynolds has young kids and presumably household help. Speculation aside, the text itself opens with, "Excuse the long text," which turns out to be an understatement. It reportedly runs close to 1,000 words. Reynolds allegedly starts by describing a panicked call from producer Todd Black about ways to diffuse tension with Baldoni, except he spells it diffuse, the word for scent, dispersal, not conflict. Resolution. Small detail, but notable given how much energy went into crafting insults elsewhere in the same message. Also worth noting, Reynolds has spoken publicly before about accidentally starting a fire at his elementary school as a kid, so the irony of fumbling a word about diffusing things wasn't lost on the narrator. The substance of the text argues that Lively deserves to be celebrating, not defending herself, that she saved the film, sacrificed sleep, and inserted herself deeply into the edit process, despite not being asked to. The narrator pushes back hard on this framing. Lively was hired as the lead actress, not a producer, and taking creative control of a film isn't typically part of that job description. Reynolds reportedly also praised her world-class marketing plan, which, per other leaked studio texts, included urging women to wear florals to screenings and pushing tie-in promotions for her wine and hair care brands. The irony is that the movie in question deals with domestic violence, making the florals and wine campaign land as tone-deaf at best. Reynolds allegedly refers to Baldoni and others involved as buckets of dumb juice, a phrase apparently repeated more than once, which the narrator finds almost impressively juvenile for a producer of his stature. A second text, from August 12 at 9:23 p.m., goes further. Reynolds allegedly claims he and Lively conspired to push Baldoni off the project entirely and lay claim to future Colleen Hoover adaptations. Baldoni had already optioned. In the same message, he reportedly compares Lively's promotional efforts to Sully Sullenberger landing a plane on the Hudson, and elsewhere to Orson Welles, Kurosawa, Scorsese, and Hitchcock, all for doing standard press for a movie. The message is addressed to his agent. Reportedly, Patrick Whitesell of WME Whitesell was previously married to Lauren Sanchez before her relationship with Jeff Bezos, for context on the circles involved. Reynolds allegedly tells Whitesell that what he and Lively are missing most from their representation is rage, invoking language like duty of care, a phrase the narrator points out is usually reserved for medical or therapeutic relationships, not talent agency disputes. Whitesell's reply reportedly came back near 1 a.m. the same night, full of reassurance, an apology for perceived lack of advocacy, and a promise that WME would deploy with the town the next morning to make sure studios and buyers knew the truth. In plain terms, mobilize industry pressure against Baldoni. The narrator's read is that this strategy backfired spectacularly, given that all three parties are now the ones facing public scrutiny. An earlier text from July 13 at 2:52 p.m. is framed as the most revealing of the bunch. In it, Reynolds allegedly refers to Baldoni only as the guy, accusing him of posing as a feminist ally while being something far worse, and calls him a bit Trumpy for allegedly projecting his own flaws onto others. The narrator flags the irony here directly, accusing someone of behavior that the message itself seems to exhibit. There's also a line where Reynolds allegedly says Baldoni should be writing lengthy apology letters instead of continuing to attack Lively, which the narrator contrasts with reports that Baldoni and his family were seated separately from the rest of the cast at the film's premiere, seemingly excluded from the main celebration. The final line highlighted from the text, Reynolds allegedly says he'd put Blake's reputation on trial any day of the week, a statement that now reads as prophetic since that's essentially what's about to happen. In the same message, he reportedly calls director Oliver Stone mercurial and abusive, a claim now permanently attached to Stone's name via court record, whether he likes it or not. Reynolds also allegedly reaches for some unusual vocabulary. Empyrean heights of vile is one flagged phrase, along with a description of Baldoni's supposed lazy-witted stupidity word choices. The narrator suggests read like someone thesaurus diving at 5 a.m., trying to sound devastating rather than actually landing the blow. The larger point being made throughout, this is a stark contrast to Reynolds' long-cultivated public image as the self-deprecating, easygoing guy. Whether or not you buy every characterization here, the texts themselves are now part of the public record and can't be walked back with a talk show joke or a cute Instagram post. Mediation has failed. The case is headed to trial. And as the narrator puts it, more documents are expected to surface as discovery continues. If this is what people are willing to put in writing, the question becomes, what wasn't written down at all?